Well, good. Happy Friday, everyone. Glad you're here. We've got a lot of people still jumping on slowly, so we'll run this step by step here. But welcome. It's a great Friday. It's a great day to be live, and we're really appreciative that you guys are all here. I don't know if we got the chat working, but the Q&A, if anyone has any comments or anyone wants any feedback, feel free to raise your hand. We'll promote you to panelist. I got my brother Christian joining us today. He's an amazing individual, and we're excited to have him here today. I think, Christian, you're here, aren't you?
Hey, Pete, good to be with you.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce myself. My name is Pete Vanderreed, for those of you that don't know me. And at the core of this all, I have a leadership passion, because I feel like corporate America is broken. Corporate America leadership is broken, and we got to do better. And one of the things I want to do is really bring an inspirational movement together, bring people like yourselves together so that we can do a much, much better job of really helping grow families, communities, leadership teams, corporations, growing individually, and then doing so much more effectively in our endeavors. And every one of you has such a large role to play in your communities. And it's really up to us to become more empowered, to become more influential, and to do a better job. But we really have to break the curse that really corporate America has created in this environment we're living in today. And so one of the things I want to share with you is really my background, my passion, and what's led me to this place. And I really hope I can bring a lot of value to you today and really inspire you to see leadership in a different way, because I guarantee the way we're going to be discussing today, leadership from my perspective is going to be significantly different than the leadership that you've been accustomed to, and the leadership that corporate America really teaches us. So first and foremost, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a passionate business leader, and I live in Arizona myself. And I really consider myself blessed to be able to speak to each and every one of you today. So thanks for joining me. A little background on me is I built nearly a dozen companies spanning energy, real estate, fitness, as well as having managed billions in operations with a Fortune 5 major. And honestly, one of the things I realized along the way was that corporate America was broken, like I just mentioned early on. But here's the problem, is that all the expectations fall on executives and leaders like yourselves. And ultimately, all people care about is that we're more productive. We want our teams to drive higher output. Essentially, all we care about is that people do more. It's the carrot or the stick. But do we realize how flawed that is? Really, we're telling a track and field athlete to run faster. We're telling a quarterback to throw more touchdowns. Why? Just because. It's do more and do more and do more. We're treating people like productivity machines, like robots, human doings versus human beings. The problem with this model is people are already running on empty. They're already on the hamster wheel of life, wondering how are they ever going to keep up. And now suddenly their company, their executives are asking more. Leaders are left giving what they don't have. Companies fail to scale effectively, increase output because people are already maxed. Culture and morale suffers. It's like the fuel tank is on empty, and corporate America wants to push the gas pedal to the floor. So companies and people are burning out and coming apart at the seams. And it's really a tragedy. So my realization of this has provided me with a passion to change the trend and inspire a new movement. We can do so much better. And that's why I founded Triumph Signature Method to provide people with tools, techniques, leadership training to help leaders and companies achieve unprecedented success. We've seen incredible results with dozens of team and hundreds more clients that are being able to step into a level of personal and business success they never thought previously possible. And we have the perfect solution for you. And by the end of this webinar, I really hope to teach you what true leadership looks like and then how you can achieve it. And then I really want to start out by showing a testimonial of a finance executive that really hopefully speaks to you and can provide you with a level of insight of what is possible as a leader in society today, and a leader that's living life to the fullest.
Vice president of a large financial planning firm with locations across more than 10 states throughout the country. I've always had a high ambition for success, success in business, success in relationships, friendships, marriage. However, in this pursuit of how I would define success, inside, I was devastated. Months ago, I came to a crossroads of my life. In my own eyes, I was a failure. I had shame and guilt. My positivity had turned to negativity, and I hated who I was and who I had become. My marriage was crumbling. I was a mess. As a man, I knew I had to pull it together. I tried to do some things on my own, but nothing was correcting the course I was headed down until I met Pete. Pete was able to guide me through exactly what was causing this behavior, where it came from, how it started, but more importantly, how to correct it. Pete has really shown me that if you do not love yourself and heal yourself, you truly won't be able to accept love from others, but more importantly, you won't be able to show love to others. At times, many men out there will struggle with how to handle the pressures of being leaders within their organizations, being amazing husbands and wonderful fathers, good teammates at work, amazing brothers and sons. And how do you manage that all? If you are someone that is struggling or hurting in any of these areas, I encourage you to take some time with Pete. Oftentimes, men might be too afraid or too ashamed to ask for help. Don't let that stop you. Your business needs you. Your clients need you. Your colleagues need you. But most importantly, your family needs you. Pete will help you conquer anything that might be in your way of becoming the best version of yourself. Many people will go through life never experiencing the best versions of themselves. Don't let that be you. My encouragement is for you to spend time with Pete so that you can become the ultimate warrior in life, in your business, and in your relationships and with your family.
That makes me excited just to work with guys like that. But what the sad thing is he's like so many people in corporate America, Wall Street, corporate executives, so many people that every one of you know are struggling with that, where life is empty. Life is difficult, life is empty. Life feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, like every day is Groundhog Day. It's a tragedy. And these are leaders in society that we look up to, leaders with so much potential, and yet they're running on empty. And then you take them back home and they're trying to raise families with this kind of stress and this kind of pressure on them. If they can't get their self right, how are they going to lead families? How are they going to be influential players in society? How are they going to help a community grow and foster? And honestly, culture in America has really struggled with the brokenness of the family. And it's really come down to everyone is just trying to survive, but no one knows the secret. And corporate America just tells you to work harder and live that kind of slave mentality where you are working for the man and there's no hope. And the only hope you have is to retire and then finally find some success in life. And that's such an empty, bottomless pit. So I'm excited to have my brother here today, Christian Carrillo. Christian is another world changer. He's a passionate guy. He's actively involved with finance and helping people really achieve success financially. So I'm glad to have him here on the show, and we're excited to have him speak on some of the leadership stuff that he's seen that was successful and inspirational in his world. So thanks for being here, Christian.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. And thank you for having me on.
Well, Christian, man, we met back several years back in South Carolina at a capital raising workshop. And it was kind of like we just connected at first sight. We've been really, on the same path, the same trajectory to try to help other people live their best life. So I really want you to take a moment here to tell people more about you.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. But let me first start by saying that I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. And before I sort of dive in here, Pete, I do want to quickly share a quick story about how we met, which you alluded to earlier. Earlier today, I was sort of thinking about the first time we met in South Carolina when we all met, as you mentioned, at Dan Hanford's event.
Right.
And Pete, you made such a powerful first impression. It was our first time connecting, but even then, you talked to me about the importance of leadership, right? This idea that a rising tide raises all ships, right? So first and foremost, kudos to you, my friend, for everything that you're doing. It's truly amazing what having a mentor, a coach, and a friend like yourself can do for an individual. So before I dive in, wanted to get that out of the way. But with that, again, super excited to be here. To all the folks on the line, I thank you for being here. As you all know, time is your most valuable asset. So I hope to be of value to you all. But as Pete alluded to earlier, my name is Christian Creo, and I'm a 25-year-old son, colleague, friend, and resource based out of Washington, D.C. I have a background in finance and economics and graduated from Bucknell University in 2019. For my 9 to 5, I have an interesting story which we'll dive into, but for my 9 to 5, I spend my time driving strategy and analytics work for Deloitte Consulting, where I help clients establish performance management programs and really help them overcome obstacles to data-driven decision-making, right? But beyond that, I also have some experience investing in the equity markets, bond markets, and I've also been a real estate investor for several years now. So I'm a strategic partner with Cashflow Champs and then a managing partner with Quetzal Capital Group. But long story short, my goal in life is to really bridge purpose and profits, right? And a lot of that is through real estate investing, through business, through philanthropic endeavors. And I'd say through every single engagement that I touch, right? I'm also a minority equity partner in a couple of different ventures, which we can dive into as well. But beyond all of that, Pete, I am a proud immigrant that is determined to pave the way for others to help them realize their version of the American dream. So hopefully that's a quick little introduction there, Pete.
I love that. I love that. And honestly, like you said, when we first met, we had a similar background coming through real estate, through some of the courses and the teaching that we had been through. And it was just unique to kind of meet someone like yourself that really had a passion to, you've been, like you said, you've lived the immigrant lifestyle. You've been there, you've done that, and now you want to go back and help other people. And that's true. I think where we've connected is we just have a passion to be this rising tide.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. And honestly, what we're really here today to do is to kind of compare the status quo versus what we should be doing in leadership and empowering each other. And honestly, I've had a lot of executives come to me that were running anywhere from small upstarts all the way to billion-dollar companies. And they always ask me, like, how do I scale? How do I inspire? How do I motivate? How do I optimize? How do I maximize and create culture within my team and company? And they always take a step back when my answer is that it comes down to them being the change that they want to see in others. Like, these executives want to do something or find some silver bullet or bring in someone, and it's like that will be the shifting tide. And yet the problem is these leaders need to realize that they are the ones that are steering the ship. They're captain of the ship. And proper leaders, a lot of corporations are just assigning people to leadership positions without the tools and the techniques to really be leaders. And the problem is our society culturally, we call leaders people that are athletes, politicians, and heads of firms, but they actually don't have the leadership skills and the abilities that really make them inspirational. And that's what it really comes down to, is how do we make leaders inspirational so that people want to follow them into battle, not just do as they're told. Because the problem with corporate America is if you're told to do something and you have no passion, you have no why, eventually you're going to burn out because you're burning the candle at both ends and there's no passion in it for you. There's no reason to be doing this. You just feel like you're robotic and you're going through the motions. So at the end of the day, leadership has to start with the leaders becoming the best version of themselves so that they can inspire people to become ultimately, if your team can become inspired so they want to become the best version of themselves, well, now everyone is rowing in the same direction with a passion to do what they're doing, not just feeling like they're being told to complete X, Y, Z or else. So one of the things, Christian, I want to ask you is, can you explain to the people that are here today, what has been the greatest example that you have seen or experienced that involved leadership?
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, right, with everything you were mentioning. And I typically tend to think in paradigms, right? I think this helps me sort of structure what I think about. And Albert Einstein said that, the leader is one who out of the clutter brings simplicity, out of discord, harmony, and out of difficulty, opportunity, right? So to your point, I think oftentimes we call individuals that may be in a certain position leaders, right? Whether it's the C-suite or whether it's, a Division I athlete, because they're in a certain position, we think automatically that they're a leader. But to your point, a lot of times that may not necessarily be the case, right? So individuals may not be equipped to truly help individuals reach their full potential. So to address your questions, I could tell you about various potentially, CEOs or managing partners or individuals super high up in companies that I've worked with, right? But I'll tell you a story about a 14-year-old that I have been mentoring, because I think this individual truly is a leader, and he's opened my eyes in many ways. So this individual, he comes from a similar background as I do, immigrant parents. He's striving to go to college, and he's going to be the first person in his family to go to college.
Cool.
And we were chatting the other day sort of about my career and where I've been in life, and sort of what has helped me be successful. And I kept coming to this idea of mentorship, right? And the importance of mentorship, and how he needs to continue to seek individuals that are where he wants to be. And about halfway through the conversation, he stops me and he says, Christian, he asked me a question, Christian, isn't it the responsibility of a leader to reach backwards as well?
Mhm.
And I sat for about probably a minute and a half, and I really thought through the question. And I realized that, while this individual may be 14 years old, he is already starting to think like a leader, right? He knows, like Pablo Picasso says, good artists copy, great artists steal. He needs to find mentors that are doing the right thing, what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and then tailor it for himself. But beyond that, it's his responsibility. And I truly believe as leaders, it's our responsibility to reach back, right? And help folks, right? Because a lot of times individuals, they just need the tools, they need the resources to be put in a position to truly succeed. So to your point, Pete, oftentimes we don't give those resources to individuals, but imagine what kind of a world we would live in if we did.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. So Christian, you have an amazing podcast that I've been part of. And obviously you have a passion to bless others and showcase positivity in the world through that. Can you share with us how you seek to lead people in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And shameless plug here, Pete. So I appreciate that. But as I mentioned earlier, right, I think about paradigms. So Warren Buffett's, he's famous for saying that someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago, right? So that's sort of the premise and the idea behind why we started our podcast, right? It was to quote unquote show individuals the art of the possible, right? Oftentimes we're told, go to school, get a job, get good grades, get a job, and work yourself up the hierarchy, right? And oftentimes, Pete, you know this best, that system can be flawed, right? We know 7 out of 10 individuals, when they're retiring nowadays, their 401k, it can't supplement their way of living, right? And there are just so many things, I'd say, in society and corporate America that truly are fundamentally broken, but we don't question it because it's how things have always been done.
Yeah.
Right. And so we really started this podcast to bring on entrepreneurs, to bring on real estate investors, individuals that are being catalysts in the world, individuals like yourself, Pete, to really show folks what is out there and what can be done. Right. And through the process, we've been very blessed to have met a lot of amazing individuals, made a lot of great connections. And, down the road, I'm hopeful that all of these sort of relationships will be able to find some synergies and truly make an impact on the world.
Yeah. And that's great. And I think that's the thing, is we need to, all too often in society, people do things out of a knee-jerk reaction to buck the trend. And I think the problem is that creates another whole problem, because now you just jump from the frying pan into the fire. And I think, like you said, when we can take the good and extract the bad, and then take the good and just work on it and develop it and grow it. And in corporate America, we've been the greatest nation in the world for a reason. But now it's like we have to continue to evolve. We have to continue to grow. We have to continue to apply new practices so that people can ultimately become more empowered. People can become more successful, because at the end of the day, everyone in corporate America is either, a son or a daughter, a husband or a wife, a parent, a grandparent. whatever it is, but you're so much more than just a worker bee. You're so much more to society. You play more of a role for this nation than just driving dollars and cents. And the thing is, if we treat people like their numbers, like their dollars and cents, they're going to feel like that. And eventually it's going to lead to a lot of diminishing returns. So the whole point, like you said, is to help people realize like there's a better way. And today, that's what we want to really keep emphasizing, is helping people realize there's a better way, helping corporations redesign the way they do leadership, and really trying to show people that what we see today as leaders oftentimes fail to meet the bar that we want to set.
Yeah, Pete, no, and I love that. I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Within corporate America, and I'd say any institution, we have to think about these new ways of working, right? You know, something that I've realized in working with multiple companies now is a lot of times people, they sort of they frown upon failure, right? And that's something that I've noticed across so many organizations, right? And I think about Walt Disney. He was fired from Kansas City Star, right? Oprah Winfrey was fired publicly on television.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, they told him he has no talent, right? So all of these folks, they failed at some point in their life, right? And within large organizations, we often tell people, you know, never fail, never fail, never fail. When in reality, failure is the mother of all success, right? So that's why I keep telling folks, and it's why I love exactly what you've been working on, right? These new ways of working, these new ways of approaching leadership, that new paradigm, it's something that we have to embed into the fabric of our nation, right? Especially if we want to ensure that, you know, we continue to foster leaders across our great country here.
I love it. So what would you say, Christian, is something that you think inspires people to want to follow a great leader?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great question. And I think one that's often overlooked, right? Again, we talked about this earlier, but oftentimes we call someone a leader simply because they may be in a position, when in reality, that may not be the case, right? So when I think about folks that I have worked with in the past, I think the ability to sit down and listen, and the ability to process, and the ability to communicate are incredibly important, right? To your point, oftentimes in large organizations, maybe all we think about is production and output, right? How can we do more with less, right? And that can be something difficult to really navigate in a capitalistic society, right? So as a leader, trying to create and fabric a culture within your organization, I think should be critical to everything you do, right? Because at the end of the day, and Pete, I think you and I have talked about this, right? But when an individual can truly bring their authentic selves to work, that is when they deliver their best work.
No, that's great. And I can really relate. Like for me, I think the thing is, leadership has to be authentic, like you said, and it needs to be transparent. Like it's not, people need to be able to relate. And if you can't relate to a leader because you think that they're Teflon and you think that they're living this perfect stoic life that you can't even relate to, well, how do you follow someone that you don't understand, that you can't connect with? It's like the most influential coaches in the NFL and the NBA are the players' coaches, the coaches that get their team, they get their players can connect with them, and they feel like, hey, like this guy gets me, Belichick gets me, you know, the greatest coaches in the NBA, they get their players and their players get the coaches, and they build that relationship. And that's when you'll lead each other and you'll follow each other into fire, into the battle. But if you feel like someone's just sitting there on a pedestal telling you what to do, which is unfortunately a lot of these corporations, the way they're run, there's no relationship there. There's no culture there. There's no community there. There's no friendship. There's no family. There's no support. You're just X's and O's every day. You're just someone on a route doing your job, clocking in, clocking out. But eventually it's like, if you disappear, they'd replace you tomorrow. And that's how superficial people feel. And that's why people are empty, because they just realize they've just been driven hard and just left to the side when they're no longer a benefit or an asset.
Yeah, and I think Pete, it's interesting you bring that up, right? Because I was actually having a chat with a colleague that works at a big financial institution out of the DC metropolitan area. And he was sort of talking to me about his experience in corporate America. And, you know, his current employer, his company, I think they have like north of 50,000 employees. And he said something that really stuck out to me, which you just kind of chatted about. It's, I feel like I'm just a number here.
Yeah.
Right. If I got fired tomorrow, they find quote unquote new me
Mhm.
in a week, when in reality every person is unique, right? So that sort of makes you start to wonder what kind of, you know, leadership do they have at this organization where individuals truly feel like this, right? Do they maybe dread coming to work every single day? And if so, how does this impact their performance, right? At that point, if I'm a leader of an organization and I fail to foster an environment where individuals can truly succeed, I truly believe that that is my fault, right? I don't, the folks on the line, you know, if you've ever read, as an example, the book by Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership, right?
Great book.
Exactly, you know, right? Don't defer blame to other folks, right? Think about the kind of culture and the kind of company that you're truly developing, and whether or not you have to ask yourself, because this is an honest question, am I truly setting up my people to succeed?
Mhm.
And if not, what am I doing wrong and what do I need to improve? Right. And
Wow.
oftentimes that's, to Pete's point about transparency, right? Going to the individuals that are truly on the ground doing the work. Hey, what am I doing well? What am I doing poorly? Right? What can I improve?
Yeah. I love it. So what are some leadership tools that you think that you know of that are powerful and effective?
Yeah. Great question. To your point from earlier, I think there's an array of tools, right? And I'd say the biggest thing is tools where you can receive constant feedback,
Mhm.
right? I think within large organizations, and just a tool as an example, I have no affiliation with this company, but I think there's a big tool out there that individuals called Loop, right? Which is
Right.
sort of a survey tool
Mhm.
that serves almost as a feedback mechanism, right? And the good thing about this tool is that it's anonymous, right? So as a leader, I have the opportunity to potentially send out this survey to all of the practitioners that work with me. It's going to be anonymized, so the individuals can truly give honest feedback about what is working well, what is not working well. But I think that's like the big thing, right, Pete? This idea of transparency and continuous process improvement, right? Because I think things aren't solely stale. Things aren't like, things change, right? So I
Mhm.
think just being aware that, you know, there's so many things going on in life, right? And believe it or not, people have a life outside of work,
Yeah.
right? Things come up. And as a leader, these are sort of things that we have to be thinking about, right? But then while all of those things may be external, there's only so many things that we can control. And then we have to look internally, what can we actually control, right? How can we
Right.
put our people in a position to succeed?
Yeah, that's great. And I think one of the things that I love Jocko Willink. I love his, you know, there's so much power within the Navy SEAL organization and what they're able to, how you're able to take those tactical and practical tools and use them in business and life and really thrive with them. And that's, for me, that's kind of what it's like. There's so much knowledge out there. What we fail on is application. But if we actually open our eyes and see the tools that are so effective, like one of the ones I want to bring up is really marketing.
Yeah.
We've all heard the funnel, right? The know, like, and the trust. We talk about it in capital raising in real estate. We talk about it in marketing, lead gen. Yet how many people have stopped to realize how powerful tool that is in terms of a corporation? Like when I was upper management in a Fortune 5 company and I had over 1,000 reports, it was incredible the benefit that I saw as a leader and the buy-in I got as a culture when I had them get to know me, get to like me, and to trust me. And when they realized that I had their back, they had mine, and they came to work realizing that I was there to empower them. I wasn't there to expect KPIs from them. Together, we were in this venture together, but this was a collective effort. This wasn't me standing in some glass tower telling them I needed to see deliverables. This was like, I'm on the
Mhm.
ground with you, rowing beside you. And how can I help empower you? Because I know if I empower you and I make you feel like you're worthy of my time, I want to get to know you. I want to get to like you, and I want you to trust me, and I want to trust you. It was phenomenal, the change that we saw. The culture changed. That was truly the rising tide. And that was fun for me as an executive, because now they make me more successful, because suddenly now everyone's rowing in the same direction. Suddenly now everyone is rowing with a passion rather than they're just going through the motions. So suddenly now I've got heart, I've got passion, I've given people a purpose, and I've told them that I'm there for them through thick and thin. And it was a game changer. And I think that's where marketing, you know, these principles that work in marketing work incredibly well in leadership.
Yeah, I take 100% agree, right? And to your point, it's about showing this commonality, right? I think being transparent, right? Truly showing who you are, right? Whether it's outside of work, you're also a partner, right? You're also a father, maybe you're a grandfather, right? Showing folks that who you truly are outside of work. And I think once you start to bring in those commonalities between folks, right? Maybe you love sports, or maybe you two, or maybe the individuals, they like the same organizations, or they support the same philanthropic endeavors. That's sort of when you start to form those bonds, right? And again, to your point, Pete, when individuals truly know what they have in common with their leadership, I think that is so powerful for organizations.
Yeah. Well, and I know we definitely have we've had some added complications the last few years with the work from home environment and COVID and social distancing and such. But I think now is really the time to start creating new culture. We have the ability to start fresh, to rethink our principles. But when corporations can come back together in a way, create culture, when leaders can do the same in their personal life and then apply it to leadership, like when that leader starts to realize, like you said, that they're more than a boss, they're a husband, they're a wife, they're a parent, they're a grandparent, but they have so much more to live for than just their job. And if they're being fulfilled, like I work with a corporate finance executive in Chicago, and he's told me so many times, like I come into home plate on my face, like I am just exhausted, I'm running on fumes. And then his weekends were busy, and he'd come back to work not replenished, but more exhausted than ever. And then the cycle started all over. And so many executives are like that. So many leaders are like that. So many real estate professionals are like that. We just go and go and go. But when you can take that executive, help him thrive personally, help him invest into those things that matter most to him, the things that matter are the ones that you would do anything to achieve if you were on your deathbed, right? On your deathbed, you're not going to want your 401k. You're not going to want, that KPI or those quarterly reports or those board of director meetings. You would want the relationships, the things in your life that matter most. And truly, when you help your team, when you as an executive focus on those areas, indirectly, you're going to see exponential growth in your business, in your productivity, because you're filling the tank through all these other relationships and all these other things that give you life, that you can come back to the boardroom and thrive. And those are the things where if you can help build a culture with people realizing like you have so much more breadth and depth to you than just being an employee or just being an executive. When you invest in all areas holistically, you will raise the tide in your life and your performance and your gratitude and your fulfillment, and your productivity, your success will become 10x what it was in the past, because you were just singularly focused on success. And success is a bottomless pit, because success is whatever you mean it to be. Success for you is different than for me. And success today is different than success in 5 years. So ultimately, it can't be about success. It has to be about fulfillment. And if our corporation is founded on fulfillment, the success will come naturally. But if all we care about is success and financial KPIs, we'll lose fulfillment, because we just run and we just exhaust ourselves because our focus is on the wrong spot.
Yeah, I completely agree. Pete, right? When we, as an example, right, we think about KPIs. This is sort of the quantitative side, right? There's also a qualitative side, right? So to your point, the holistic picture, the pieces coming together, that's what's important. And I think that's sort of why I love what you've been doing, right? Because I think, you know, there's the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mhm.
Right. So we think about the leaders that are going out there, they're recruiting, they're hiring, they're retaining, they're passing off work to their practitioners. If these individuals are, you know, truly running on fumes, how is that going to impact their workforce, right? Can they truly be the you know, the best leader that they possibly could be? So a
Mhm.
lot of times we have to sort of rethink about the way things are currently being done and work towards those, you know, you mentioned it, the new ways of working, right? New ways of being a leader.
Yeah, I like it. So one of the things I'd like to do is I'd love to see if there's any questions out there in terms of the experiences you guys have had, or any things that, any complications that you guys have seen, or anyone that's felt stuck in terms of leadership or in their own fulfillment. But I'd love to hear from anyone that's on the call today to see if there's something that really strikes a chord in you. Feel free to raise your hand, or maybe I'll pick on someone. But I'd love to hear some of your experiences. Hey, Eddie, I see you're there. Would you mind giving us some of your expertise?
Hey Pete, what's up? What's up?
What's up, Eddie?
Man, good to see you. Good stuff. Everything that you guys are talking about. Christian, good to meet you, man.
Pleasure.
It's I'm just curious. Actually, I'm curious. Where are you from? I'm from El Salvador.
My mother is from Guatemala.
Oh wow, look at that.
We're
Yeah,
neighbors.
basically neighbors. You know. Yeah, I came here to the States when I was 10.
Mhm.
But yeah, there is. Oh, and Pete, I don't have video, so I don't know if.
That's all right. You're good.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that. Okay, cool. So yeah, man, it's one of the things that you both are hitting on, which I completely agree, and that's what I stand for, is being transparent.
Mhm.
It's something that we've gotten away from, especially like you guys mentioned, in today's society, right? We're all digital. So it's really interesting.
Oh. Oh, we lost.
Eddie, I think you might have muted
Sorry.
yourself.
Yeah, Eddie, I just
Okay, there
promoted
we
you to
go.
panelist. Sorry, I messed with it.
Cool. Did you see me? It's like that was my
Yeah.
video camera there. Also, yeah, man. So going back to that transparency, I believe that's exactly it. It's I'm on a mission personally to basically bring back the genuine conversations and profitable relationships. And I mean profitable in every sense, whether it's business, whether it's relationship like friendships, family, or whatever it takes to make that a profitable for both parties. So being transparent takes that.
Mhm.
You've got to be transparent. And there's no ways around that. So definitely there's a huge need in regards to bringing back people to that that mindset of there's a real human being behind this video camera. You know, there's real conversations and real life happening. So you know, stop for a moment and take the time to listen and support. And then, Christian, there was something else that you mentioned that I think, man, again, you're right on, because taking a step back to push someone up to where you're at is so important. And I'm guilty of not, you know, not stopping and doing that. But to your experience with that 14-year-old, I have two things. So I have a 15-year-old, and she's my daughter, right? And Alicia, basically, I'm so proud of how she's growing up, because I have given her some things and I'm seeing that come out of her. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. She's able to have transparent conversations, genuine conversations. And she stands for what she believes in. She stands for that. And she knows that she's got what it takes. And it's like, wow, okay, that worked. And then recently I was at the gym and another person showed up and basically he caught up with me and he's struggling. And I stopped, man. I stopped and I listened and I thought, wow, here is an opportunity for me to pour as much as I can to this individual.
Mm.
And, again, it's just stopping and listening and taking the time. So, man, you both have an amazing talk here. So I appreciate you bringing me on, Pete, but you guys are hitting every single point as leaders, as world changers, creating an impact. And it all starts from us, from what's around in our world.
I love it, Eddie. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete, if I may, I think sort of what Eddie just mentioned, I think is so powerful, right? I think as leaders, when you go out and you help individuals, maybe they're in need, maybe they don't voice it up, but you see it, this has a compounding effect, right? In real estate and investments, talk about compounding returns. This is a compounding return, right? Think about this individual that perhaps you just completely changed the trajectory of their life, right? Think about the individuals they're going to go out and help, right? And I can use myself as an example for that, right? Growing up, I didn't have too many individuals in my family that had attended college. I didn't know, how to even apply for college, right? And I had one mentor in my high school that submitted my name for a full tuition scholarship to college. I got it, right? I wasn't even going to go to college, right? But because of her, I met the people that I have met to date, right? I have the mission that I have today, and I've made the impact that I've made to date. And there's still so much more for me left to do, right? But because one individual reached back, right? She reached back and she sort of put me in the trajectory to succeed. So Eddie, I love that you mentioned that. And I think it's so powerful, right? Thinking about what that individual that you helped could go out and do.
Exactly. It's all about that ripple of impact, right? So I love it, man. Don't get me started.
Well, and I love what you guys bring up, because I think that's my big purpose here is we all bleed red. We all struggle with life. We all strive for success. We're all driven individuals. And yet we're caught up in a society that is only indexed on success and on notoriety and on fame and acquisitions. Yet it's like and there's nothing wrong with all that, but there's a problem when that has become our only focus. And then the problem too is like, what have we gambled in pursuit of that?
Yeah.
And one of the things I find is most tragic is I've worked with thousands of executives and I've seen so many of them near retirement and they have lost nearly everything. And it is a bad place for them to be, where they are missing out on what's important. They're missing out on the beauty of life, and they've sacrificed everything to get there. And when they do that, it's a tragic story that their whole life is for naught, that they've gotten this far and they've lost it all, or they've made it to the top, but they've lost it all and they've lost everything else. And then when retirement comes, it's a fearful place to be, because suddenly it's like, I just spent 40 years of my life and all I have left is a 401k. It's like, gosh, there's so much more you missed out. So I think both of you guys really hit the nail on the head, where it's like, we have to help people realize like that your job, your purpose in society is so much bigger than your job. But if the rest of your life fulfills you, your job will be amplified, your success will be amplified, your team will be amplified. And we've all had stories where someone came back and helped us and changed our life. We've all had that person. Yet so many of us in leadership, we wait for someone else to go do that job. I think leaders, when they realize like you are that person, you can be that person. If some of these executives I work with, I'm like, instead of walking through the office to go to your corner office with a view over Chicago, like stop and ask people their names, stop and ask people how their families are doing. Tell them that like, hey, I hope you have an amazing day. Like, hey, I really appreciate you. it's like these employees will be like, what just happened? Like, wow. And that guy will go and work harder than ever, but you just made his life, and he's going to go home and he's going to give his wife a hug and be like, man, I had a great day. And then he's going to pick his kids up and they're going to go play catch, and they're going to be like, man, what's wrong with dad? He's crazy. But it's like, that's what happens when you get this domino effect where people,
Yeah.
when you invest into that one person, it's exponential, because now they go and they're just and I always give this analogy. It's like, what comes out when you squeeze an orange juice is orange, or when you, my bad. What happens when you squeeze an orange, the orange juice comes out. If each one of us realizes like what we do on the inward can benefit the outward. And if you take someone and you bless on someone and you help them feel great internally, externally, everything will come from that place of positivity and abundance and just feeling alive. And when we can do that to everyone in the corporation now, if you want the corporation to thrive outwardly, it has to thrive inwardly. So we need that orange juice on the inward, so that when we put it under pressure and allow it to go and do its thing and operate in the marketplace, it has to have inwardly what it thrives outwardly with. And that's where it's like, constantly leaders have to become empowered as individuals so that they can empower people on the outward, because if they're phony inside, no one's going to buy the fake news they're spreading on the outside. But it's like, as leaders, we have to become empowered personally to empower others, and then as corporations, we have to empower our teams. And our teams consist of that woman, at the corner desk, and the person in admin, and the person in HR. Like, every one of those people count. It's not just the team of lieutenants that you have that matter. It's not just the brass of the corporation or the board of directors that matter. It's like, it's everyone down to the janitor. You make them all feel amazing. You're going to create a culture where people realize like, hey, we're not only valued based on our performance. We're valued because we're humans. We're part of this team. We all matter. We all count. We all add to the puzzle, and we all make a difference. And the other thing is, what better impact than to have an amazing corporation, and then have a corporation that goes home at night and changes the world, rather than a corporation that goes home exhausted, looking for some sedative and wondering how they're going to come back on Monday with their life intact because they're coming apart at the seams.
Yeah, man, Pete, I got to tell you this story because two things come to mind. And Christian, you probably do this because you deal with the corporate a lot too, but I believe one of the things is going to be that it's so hard. Like, I can't do that, or, I don't have time to do that, or it's hard. It's not me. That's usually the excuse, right? It's not me. It's too hard. I don't have time. Can I tell you exactly what you're describing is how T-Mobile became who they are today. And actually, even today, they still need some work. But however, the one executive who changed their path where they were heading was John Legere. He was there for 7 years as the CEO. And I will tell you that man, I remember like it was yesterday. I knew T-Mobile stock was like $37. And I kept seeing the CEO go live on Periscope. That was back then, Periscope. Live. And he would literally talk to specific people there, good or bad. And he would send things and he would just listen, and he would do. Oh my goodness. When I saw that, I thought, first of all, I gotta get more stock. Right?
Yeah.
Gotta get more stock. It's about to go up. Sure enough, 3 months later, it doubled immediately. And 7 years down, the whole time that he was there, he transformed that place and people became part of the team. With like, no matter where, I remember going to every location, you can tell his energy being fed to those sales reps at the store, and they took ownership. So there's no excuse, right? Like you just have to, I guess people in that world need to be creative enough to come up with ideas so that they can engage with everyone, like you said, Pete, even the janitor, with everyone, and bring them in as a family, as a team, and all of them, including if the CEO back then could do it, it can be done. right?
Yeah,
So that you remind me of that. So
I
kudos
love
on
it.
that one, man.
Well, and I kind of want to put a bow tie on this today, but I appreciate you jumping on here spontaneously, Eddie. You're such a stud, and you're such a light in the world, and I really appreciate your friendship and
Thank you, Pete.
your wisdom. But really, the principle that I've founded the Triumph signature method on is really a threefold approach. Which, if we're going to take an individual, we're going to take a team, or take a company, we got to take kind of a three-step approach to success. And the first step is really like we've talked about today, which is root cause analysis, is the healing phase. We need to identify what's going on, because we can't just address an issue unless we call it out. We can't fix things. We can't fix a bad culture in a team, in a corporation, unless we actually address what's going on. So it's really calling the problem out under the rug, looking at it, finding solutions, and then starting to put those things in place. And the second part, obviously, is the intentionality phase. This is where we start to right the wrong. We start to create a community and a continuous improvement culture that really focuses on mental, spiritual, emotional, relational, vocational healing and growth, and fortifying a new belief system and a new operating system that's based on a holistic principle of success, not one that's lopsided, because we can't be driving down the interstate of business with one inflated tire anymore. It just doesn't work. It's left us where we are today. And I saw statistics the other day that bad culture has cost America over $3 billion a year. That's crazy. Bad culture, that's bad leadership. That's high stress environments, that these people are not living the life that they want to live. They hate their job. 75% of executives are unhappy with their leadership positions. It's crazy. So yeah, step two is the intentionality. It's like we have to learn new systems, apply new systems, and apply new systems. And then three is really continuous growth, where we start to refine these processes and we start to build on them. So we really need to go back to the foundation. Just like in real estate, we need a good foundation that we build the company on, and then we grow and we scale, and then we escalate and we optimize. And that's where the beauty comes. And this is the same principles that apply to relationships, personal healing, corporate growth. But when you apply these tactical and practical methods, it's incredible the beauty that results. And you start to realize that we help people, we help corporations, we help teams really enjoy the journey, because we're not focused on success. Success means we're focused on an endpoint. Well, guess what? In life, I heard Matthew McConaughey say the other day that life is a journey without an endpoint. It really is a nonstop journey, that you never have a stop along the way. You never have a milestone. It's like you're always on the way. You're always getting there. Well, if we think of business like we're always getting there, rather than just being fixated on a point in time, if we realize every day matters, every day counts, we need to live every day to the fullest. That's how we thrive as a corporation. We celebrate every day. We can't sit there and hate our life for 6 months hoping to have the Q1 goals that we're seeking, and then only then will we celebrate as a team, and only then will we get the attaboys and attagirls, and only then will life be worth it, and only then will we have time off to finally take a breath of fresh air, right? So it's really an implementation of a new methodology, one that's based on empowering people from the inside out, empowering teams from the inside out, and focusing on the journey and focusing on living life to the fullest, rather than just being a bunch of 10 men and 10 women that go around without any passion, without any purpose, and just feeling like they're empty inside. So I really thank everyone for being here today. I wanted to provide you with kind of just a little gift. It's just kind of the do's and don'ts of what sound leadership looks like. But I really appreciate everyone's time. I'm excited to see you guys back next month. We do the second Friday of every month. But honestly, my goal is, I was that guy that went through hell and back as a kid, growing up, abuse, neglect. I was striving to run big companies. I wanted to be the biggest and the best. But I also realized that it didn't work for me. I realized it was empty. I realized it wasn't benefiting me in the way that I wanted. And now I'm the guy that wants to go help everyone else live their best life. Let's change the world. Let's change companies. Let's change families. Let's change relationships. Let's do everything with a heart of gratitude and a heart of love. And we will change America. We'll change America. We will make America a leader in the world again, because we are a country based on sound principles. We have companies that are healthier than ever. We have families that are healthier than ever. When we can do that and we can come together, gosh, man, it's like you can imagine the beauty we'll have in that kind of an environment. So I hope this blesses everyone here today. I'd love to talk with you further offline. I've included my Calendly link there. If anyone would like to talk about your personal success, your leadership success, your team success. But let's start making leadership about living life to the fullest, not about X's and O's. Let's make leadership about empowerment, not about productivity. The productivity will show up when we live our best life. I guarantee it. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a blessed weekend. It's a great day to be alive. Peace out.